Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be looking at a review on media queries. So let's get to it. Okay, so if you already know how media queries work in CSS, you can gladly skip this lesson. If not, well, keep watching because in this video, I'm going to quickly cover how media queries work in CSS. This will allow us to understand more on what we're doing when we're playing around with responsive web design and using CSS Grid. So if you can see on my screen right now, basically I have a list of items after each other, okay? And the way I've done this from a HTML point of view is I've just got an unordered list with a bunch of allies in it, okay? And each ally is numbered 1 to 6. So pretty straightforward HTML. In terms of CSS, I'm using Flexbox. Now, I'm not going to explain what Flexbox is or what it does. I already have a course on that, so you can go check that out. And basically, I wouldn't be focusing too much on the actual CSS that's written here in this video. You can check it out if you want, that's up to you, but that's not what I'm going to be focusing on. What I'm going to be focusing on is when certain CSS is executed, okay? So at the moment, pretty much all of the stuff that's in here is commented out, and it's commented out because I only want to apply it at certain times. And that's what these media queries are for. Media queries the ability to assess a situation around whether it be the device size or whether it's in a certain layout mode, so it could be portrait or landscape, those kinds of things. And then we run some certain CSS in that situation. So a simple example of this is, say I want to run the CSS I have commented here when the window width is minimum 768 pixels wide. Okay, so if I uncomment this at the moment, it's going to always run regardless. Now, at the moment, the width of this window is in fact only about 564 pixels wide, so this shouldn't be executing yet. So how we get around this is we write this thing called a media query, and it looks something like this. So you start off with an @ symbol, and you type the word media, all right? And then inside of that, we put brackets. Inside these brackets, these are kind of like the rules in which this CSS will be executed under. So saying that we want a min width of 768 pixels, that's how you would write it, okay? And then all we have to do is use the curly brackets. Then the CSS that we want to have run fits inside that media query like that, all right? Now if I run this and save, we can see that we no longer have the CSS that we just uncommented running. However, if I slowly grow the window and reach that 768 pixels, which is about still going, getting close now. We're at 750, 766. So right now you can see that that CSS has been executed. And what it's done is basically it's split the list items into 2 columns. All right. Again, it's using this CSS in here. Right. So this is how we can basically change the behavior of our layouts based on the width of the window. All right. And this is generally what you'll do. This is basically a mobile first approach. So normally what you will have is the CSS that you want for a mobile device. All right, you would leave that outside at the very top of the file. And then as you grow your window out into different device sizes that are a little bit wider, you would apply different CSS or different media queries, right? So this one is when the minimum width of the window is 768 pixels, we're going to execute this stuff. Now for the next one, basically, I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to do it when the width of the window is 124 pixels wide at a minimum, okay? So essentially all I need to do here is come up here, copy this, bring it down, and I'll add a curly brace after it. We'll add some spacing like that. And then I'm going to change the 768 to just be 124. Whoops. And save. Now at the moment it's not applying, but that's because we're not at 124 pixels yet. So as I make it wider, and we're going to continue to get wider and wider and wider until we hit it. There it is there. Okay. So currently we're at 135, 133 pixels. and then that ran, okay? I don't like that indentation. So now we're at a point where we've got 3 columns. So that is 2 examples of how we can change the behavior of our layout by using these media queries. Now, I've only shown you basically a min-width example so far, but there are obviously other ways we can do this as well. So we could say that maybe between, having a minimum width of 800 pixels, but then up until we reach 900 pixels, we're going to show the background color of these list items to be red, right? So we would write it something like this. So first I'll just uncomment what we've got so we can see what it does. And you can see it just makes everything red. And then I'm going to write another media query like this one up here. All right, so we'll copy this down like so. And save, and then I'll just indent this a bit. Right. Now, the min width I want for this one, I said was 800 pixels wide. So if I save this right now, we're going to see what we've normally seen. Currently, we're over, whoops, I want to drag the handle. I don't want to drag the window. As I bring this down, once it gets under 800 pixels wide, it'll go blue, right? So 768 and now red, right? Now, that's all great and everything, but once we get to a maximum of 900, which is about here, we want it to go back to blue, all right? So how do we do that? Well, what you do is you can put an AND after this and add another piece of criteria. So for this one, I'm going to say the max width is 900 pixels, like that. Cool. When I save this now, you can see it goes back to blue. But if I now shrink below the 900 pixel range, we can see it goes red. And it'll stay red until we get under the 800, okay? But once I go back over 800, it goes red again until we reach 900. And then once again, it goes back to blue. Cool. Now, there are different types of media, so to speak, that you can work with. So the one we've been working with by default is screen. So sometimes you may see something like this where someone might explicitly type screen and then put an AND like that and save. And that doesn't really change anything in the context of what I'm showing in this video because we're already using screen. Screen is basically your window, your browser window, okay? We can use other things like print. So this CSS would be executed in, say, a print preview screen or something like that. But I'm not going to really show that here because it's not important for what we're doing in this course, okay? Just understand that sometimes you might see the word screen when they're talking about applying certain CSS only to your browser, okay? Now, so far we've looked at min widths, max widths, and media types, but sometimes you want to change the behavior of your CSS based on whether you're in portrait mode or landscape mode. So say, for example, I want in this next one, say I want it to be green, the background that is, for the list items, when I'm in a landscape mode. So at the moment, I'm in a portrait mode, so this should not be green, okay? So how do we do this? Well, I'm going to type it out this time and go media, and then inside of the brackets, I go orientation, portrait, all right? In fact, sorry, landscape, I should say, not portrait, landscape, all right? So when we are in landscape mode, I want things to turn green, all right? And save, and now you can see the green goes away. Now, in order to execute landscape mode, you basically have to make the height of the window smaller than the width. And there it is right there. So as soon as I made the height of the window smaller than the width, it went into landscape mode. And therefore, the background color of the items went green. As I grow it again and go back out, and now the height of the window is bigger, we're back in portrait mode. All right, so that's how you can apply CSS to only landscape mode. And then we can also do the same for portrait mode, like so. So say I want this to be applied again. So at the moment, the text is yellow. Well, I only want the text to be yellow when in portrait mode, which we are in at the moment. But if I was to make this landscape mode, it shouldn't be yellow, okay? So let's fix that up. So if I go at media, and I go orientation is portrait, and save, and cut that out, bring, whoop, too far, paste that in, and save. Now we can see that now that we're in landscape mode, it doesn't apply that portrait setting. However, as we come out of landscape mode, what's going to happen is the text goes yellow and the green goes away. Okay, so the situation is always going to be, in this case, the width of the window, it's going to be red with yellow, and then it's going to be green with white. Okay, cool. Now, obviously, we can also add extra restrictions to this. So we can say not only just orientation, but maybe we want the min width to be a certain width as well. So maybe when it's over 1,000 pixels, only then will we allow the text to go yellow. All right, so if I now save this, you can see it's white. And it's white because we're not over 1,000 pixels. So if I now drag this out, right, and we get to beyond 1,000 pixels, just right there, you can now see it's gone yellow. However, because it only happens in portrait mode, as soon as we go into landscape mode, you'll lose that yellow text. Cool, so that is pretty much the basics of media queries. And that's all I need to cover in this video, because that's all we're really going to need to understand for the rest of this course. So that's it. I'll see you all in the next video.